All right, be honest with me. How many hours did you spend doom scrolling yesterday until your brain felt like, I don't know, a microwaved Hot Pocket? Come on, you know the exact feeling I'm talking about. You absolutely know you should go to sleep, but your eyes are basically glazed over, your thumb is operating on pure unconscious muscle memory, and you just keep swiping. We all joke about getting brain rot when our attention span naturally shrinks down to the size of a TikTok algorithm. But here's the real question. Is that actually a legitimate medical condition, or is it just another viral internet buzzword we throw around? Let's put the memes away for a second and look at the actual hard data to see what is fundamentally happening inside your skull. Believe it or not, the sheer panic over our brains supposedly rotting isn't exactly a new thing. Take a look at this quote from the original off-the-grid hipster himself, Henry David Thoreau, all the way back in 1854. He wrote, "While England endeavors to cure the potato rot, will not any endeavor to cure the brain rot, which prevails so much more widely and fatally?" Yeah, you heard that right. A 19th century philosopher was literally complaining about brain rot over 150 years ago. And his biggest fear, get this, he thought people were reading too many newspapers. The dude was terrified of people staring at a piece of paper for too long. Man, if only he could see us right now, sitting alone in the dark, bathed in blue light at 3 in the morning. Modern technology has basically taken his worst absolute nightmare and strapped an incredibly massive rocket to it. And that rocket, it is fueled by the highly optimized algorithms currently sitting right in your pocket. As Dr. Cal Newport, who's a computer science professor and huge advocate for deep work, points out, we aren't just vaguely fighting the internet anymore. He says it is specific products and services that are engineered at great expense to pull you back to them. Let that sink in. You are not weak-willed, you're just wildly outgunned here. You are going up against multi-billion-dollar slot machines run by algorithmic sleep paralysis demons that are designed specifically to hijack your human psychology. And frankly, it's working flawlessly. So welcome to this explainer on the science of brain rot diagnosis and cure. We're going to systematically map out exactly how your devices are physically rewiring your hardware, and more importantly, how the science says you can actually fix it before you completely lose your mind. Here's our roadmap for today. 1. We'll cover the science of brain rot. 2. The smartphone brain drain. 3. Digital learned helplessness. 4. Attention under attack. And finally, 5. The 7-day detox solution. Let's jump right into section 1, the science of brain rot, and how the scientific community is actually validating this viral term. So, a 2025 study from the Journal of Information System and Technology Management officially took Oxford's 2024 Word of the Year, brain rot, and brought it into serious scientific literature. They published a paper called The Cognitive Consequences of Digital Addiction, exploring the phenomenon of brain rot. And honestly, what they found is pretty alarming. They observed that the constant daily barrage of digital rewards triggers massive dopamine dysregulation in our heads. Basically, you're training your own brain to demand a constant IV drip of high stimulation, low effort garbage. And when you do that, neuroplasticity kicks in. Think of neuroplasticity just like a muscle. If you stop lifting weights, your muscles naturally atrophy, right? Well, if you stop using the neural pathways that actually handle sustained focus and deep critical thinking, your brain literally prunes those connections away. Your brain is physically adapting itself to be worse at focusing. And here is the stark, unbelievable reality that's driving this neuroplastic shift. Average daily screen time now reaches 7 to 10 hours. Just let that number marinate for a second. 7 to 10 hours. Every single day. Let's do the quick math on that. If you're generally awake for about 16 hours, you're spending potentially way more than half of your conscious life just staring at a glowing rectangle. That is a massive, totally unprecedented behavioral shift for our species, and it sets the stage perfectly for the exact cognitive decline we're looking at right now. Which brings us to section 2, the smartphone brain drain. This is what we call the hardware problem. So it turns out you don't even need to be actively scrolling on your phone for it to mess with your head. There was this massive study out of UT Austin that tested people's cognitive capacity, which is basically how much raw available brain power they had for complex tasks. They had participants put their phone in 3 different places, either face down on the desk, hidden in a pocket or bag, or completely in another room. The results? The people with their phone in another room absolutely crushed the test, but the people with the phone face down on their desk, they scored the absolute lowest. Why? Because when your phone is sitting right there, your brain is actually running background processes just to not touch it. It takes real, physical, cognitive energy to suppress the urge to check your notifications. It's literally like leaving 50 Chrome tabs open while trying to play a high-end video game. Your entire system is going to lag. The mere physical presence of the device drains your available brain power. All right, moving into section 3, digital learned helplessness. If the hardware drains you, the software traps you. A really groundbreaking paper from the IJNRD introduces a pretty terrifying concept called digital learned helplessness. To put it simply, it's the acquired belief that effort is futile after repeated exposure to uncontrollable digital stimuli, which leads to passive behavior and diminished resilience. Think about how modern social media is practically designed. You have variable rewards, meaning you never actually know if the next swipe is going to be a banger meme or a boring ad. You have infinite scrolling, which completely removes all natural stopping cues. The platform controls the entire experience, not you. Over time, your brain fundamentally learns that your active choices just don't matter because the algorithm is the one driving the car. And that subconscious feeling of total helplessness bleeds right out of your screen and into your everyday life. Let's actually walk through this digital helplessness cycle step by step so you can see how it works. Step 1, you're exposed to uncontrollable digital stimuli. Again, think of an infinite scroll that you literally, physically cannot reach the bottom of. Step 2, you develop that learned helplessness, essentially giving up your own personal agency and just passively consuming whatever the feed decides to feed you. Step 3, this passive state breeds really deep anxiety because humans are fundamentally built for agency and action. When you strip that away and you just become a passive consumption blob on the couch, your brain sort of quietly panics. And finally, step 4, burnout. Your resilience completely drops, your emotional regulation tanks, and you feel totally exhausted despite literally just sitting there for 3 hours. You are officially trapped in an algorithm-induced doom loop. Now, let's look at section 4, attention under attack, specifically how this is fragmenting teen focus. So if this cycle is this exhausting for fully grown adults, imagine what it's doing to a still developing brain. A recent study in the International Journal for Research and Education looked closely at teens and their sustained attention spans. Teens logging under 2 hours of daily screen time consistently scored in the high 80s on standardized attention tests. Pretty solid. But those clocking over 4 hours daily, their attention scores completely plummeted to well below 60. There is a massive, statistically significant negative correlation happening here. We are quite literally talking about an entire generation whose brains are currently wiring themselves for adulthood, and the constant rapid-fire context switching and cheap dopamine hits are essentially overloading their cognitive systems. This level of digital distraction is quite literally fragmenting their ability to hold a single thought. Okay, section 5, the 7-day detox solution. This is the scientifically backed cure we promised you. All right, that's enough doom and gloom for one explainer, right? I promised you a cure, and I'm going to deliver. How do we actually reverse this rot? Well, there is a very rigorous 2026 pre-post experimental study that was just published in the Archives of Psychiatry and Mental Health. This isn't just some random productivity guru on Twitter telling you to wake up at 4 a.m. and embrace the grind. This is empirical academic evidence on the efficacy of a 7-day digital detox intervention, specifically tested on university students. The researchers had these participants limit their non-academic screen time to a really strict maximum of just 2 hours a day for exactly 1 week. Just 7 days. And the behavioral change they actually recorded was staggering. They tracked the students' devices objectively, and the mean daily screen time dropped from 6.48 hours all the way down to 2.03 hours, going from almost 6.5 hours down to barely 2 hours. For a modern university student, that is practically going cold turkey. They fundamentally restructured their daily behavioral ecology. They had to actually sit there and look at a wall or, talk to real people in the real physical world. They hit the brakes hard. So what exactly happened to their brains when they got all that free time back? Well, the psychological improvements in just one single week were absolutely off the charts. They reported drastic concentration gains, severely enhanced subjective productivity, much better sleep quality, significantly reduced perceived stress, and an increased overall life satisfaction. The researchers actually mapped out the exact causal pathway here. Reducing screen time lowered their stress, which in turn improved their concentration, which spiked their productivity, which ultimately led to a much higher life satisfaction. By simply cutting out the algorithmic noise and all those constant dopamine spikes, their brains rapidly began to heal themselves. 1 week, 7 days is literally all it took to kickstart a massive psychological recovery. So we've looked at the neuroplasticity of brain rot, we've seen the severe cognitive drain of just having your smartphone sitting nearby on your desk, and we've proven the incredibly fast, statistically significant recovery period you get when you finally just put the device down. So here is a final thought to leave you with. If your brain can actually begin healing itself in just 7 days, what is stopping you from putting your phone in the other room right now? Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. Now seriously, go outside and touch some grass.